Hi, if you're looking for a medical video or anything like that on having your prostate removed, this isn't it. What this is just a quick update on my experiences. I had my prostate removed exactly 14 days ago. Um, the prognosis is really good. They think they got everything, so that's the one good thing to say about it. But it was quite an experience, and I'm not sure I really knew what I was getting myself in for. A bit of background in me: I'm 68 years old, reasonably fit, I guess. About 20 months ago, I had a TERP, i.e., rebore, because I completely blocked up, and in the process, they found out that I had group 1 prostate cancer, something they were just going to monitor, and I wasn't particularly worried about it at the time. But 18 months later, I had to have another biopsy, and unfortunately, this particular biopsy turned up with a group 5 prostate cancer, so it was now quite bad. My Gleason score ultimately turned out to be 4 plus 5, which equals 9. Um, the total biopsy after the operation was 30% uh, group 3, 65% group 4, and 5%, group 5, grade 5, depending on what you want to say. So, yeah, I'm glad I'm rid of it. So, what happened? Um, Basically, turned up at the hospital. Um, they were in and stuff like that. I actually got to see the Da Vinci robot before they put me under, so at least I know the machine. I've finally seen one in real life. And I woke up, I guess, several hours later, or probably quite a few hours later, in hospital. I was kept in for one night, and the first day I ate nothing at all. Then the second morning, I had light breakfast, which I promptly managed to throw up. I threw up quite violently 8 times. They thought that was the result of the anaesthetic. Eventually, they gave me a jab, and basically, I settled down. They kept me in till after lunch, and about an hour after lunch, they said it was okay for me to go because it looked like the nausea was wearing off. As part of the discharge, I had to go see my pharmacy people, and the lovely lady at pharmacy asked me what I was allergic to, which I promptly told her was sulfur-based drugs and Bactrim. And she happened to mention that the course of antibiotics they were putting me on to were actually one of the active ingredients was actually the same as Impatrum. And she said she wasn't comfortable giving it to me. Got on to the doctor and checked with the nurses and that, and they'd given me it the night before. So it turned out the reason I actually threw up was the antibiotics. Yeah, I've been allergic to Bactrim for something like 50 years. I couldn't remember why. I just remember it made me a bit nauseous, but now I've got a fair idea of what happens. So stopping that was a good move. Anyhow, um, so went home, had painkillers. They gave me painkillers, but real strong ones, but I only ever used them in hospital. I used good old Panadol for everything else. I think I've taken more Panadol in the last probably 2 weeks than I've taken in the rest of my life. But I definitely needed it. Um, the interesting thing is the pain. The pain was quite unusual. Apparently, they pump you up full of air, and you've got to get rid of the air. So you've got a major flatulence problem, stomach cramping up, and sort of like I felt like my stomach was cramping up. I think in hindsight that was actually just a general pain from being chopped up. Um, what did they do? They cut me up in 6 places. Sort of, you can see sort of one here. That's the main one they went into. Not sure what all the others were doing, but uh, was pretty happy yesterday when he took the covers off and all the stuff and sort of said, yeah, they'll look pretty good and sort of stuff like that. Now, because I'd had the TERP, I had to have the catheter in a lot longer than most guys do. So I had my catheter in for basically 13 days, I think it was. And that was a bit of got quite annoying at times. Yeah, so now getting back to the first couple of days, the pain was pretty intense, mainly a lot of stomach cramp feelings and sort of stuff like this, a lot of flatulence. It was not until about day 5 that that really started to lessen off. Then by day 6, I was starting to actually feel pretty good. Um, Interestingly enough, as the pain in my stomach subsided, I started realising how annoying the catheter was. I actually had a catheter in that was draining quite well, not a problem with the catheter or anything like that, but I just felt a lot of the time like I actually wanted to piss. I actually asked the doc about that, and he said, "Yeah, that's because we're not built to have a catheter." So, despite the fact I was draining really well, you're feeling you're going to have a piss. And when I went to the loo and did number twos, I had a fair bit of leakage around the catheter when you squeeze and stuff like this, which is not all that unusual, I believe. But it's a little disconcerting, a little bit of blood and sort of stuff like that. But having had the TERP 18 months ago, I can tell you the amount of blood I got from my prostate removal was nothing at all like the TERP. And yeah, blood's pretty well gone now. Um, After the sort of the pain had gone, the catheter was just plain fucking annoying. Was really nice though at night. I got to sleep right through without having to get up and have a piss and everything like that. That was a real plus. Now, yesterday I went saw my surgeon, got the catheter removed, and got my results, which was they believe they've got a whole lot of the cancer, which I tell you that was amazing. Load off my mind. I I just about sort of I hugged my partner and just about started crying. It was such a relief because I had been really worried about that because like grade 5 prostate cancer is not a particularly nice one to sort of spring you with, and they pretty certain they got it all. But of course, I'll have to have be monitored every so often with a blood test, and I go back and see my guy in so many weeks, and I can't remember if it's 3 months or 6 weeks. I think it's 6 weeks. But yeah, to see what's going on there. But hopefully they've all got it. They've got it. Now I'm in phase two, and this is, and as I said, it's the second day of phase two. The catheter's out, and I have no control down there at all. Um, it's like I just can't get the Kegel, the pelvic floor thing right. They tell me it's going to be 6 weeks to 6 months, and I hope it's a bit faster than that. But I'm getting awfully sick of wet pants. I've obviously got continence pads on and underwear type things on and stuff like this. Yesterday I had three of them. Today it's almost 9 o'clock at night here, and I'm on my second pair, and I'm pretty damp, and like I just stand up and I'm squeezing, and I can just feel it's coming out and stuff like this. It's very disconcerting. Um, I actually am. I have seen a physio for it beforehand, and I've been doing my pelvic floor exercises for about 4 to 6 weeks beforehand. Um, but I just don't have any control down there. I don't have a lot of fear. The really interesting thing is I don't have a lot of feeling either. Like when I take a piss, like I can start, it starts and then it just stops, and there's no sort of sensation of being able to close it off or anything like that. So it does feel rather unusual, a bit disconcerting. Now, everything I've read and seen, and I've watched some other guys' videos online, and I'm very grateful they put them up. That's one of the reasons I decided to do this, because just listening to the experience of other guys made me realise that, oh, so this is normal, right? Or you can experience this, or sort of something like that. Now, one of the things I probably should have mentioned earlier is apparently I've got a really big, well, I had a really big prostate. It's 110 grams, which they tell me for my age is an absolute whopper. And I blame my father, and the surgeon says yes, I should because I would have inherited it from him. And that's apparently an extra complication. So I've got the complication of having had the TERP, and I've got a large prostate. Apparently, if you've got a large prostate, what happens is you sort of tend to rely on the large prostate to block off the urine and all sorts of stuff like that. And as part of the operation, you lose a fair bit of your catheter, which means you lose a lot of the other muscles, sort of things and stuff like this. So it can be a lot more difficult for guys like myself to get control. There goes my bloody phone. Uh, but anyhow, yeah. So where I'm at the moment. Uh, I'm getting really annoyed about fiddling, but yeah, look, I'm also feeling pretty good. The pain's going away. I'm still a little bit sore around the surgery area and sort of stuff like this. The main place I'm sore now is the catheter has been pulled out and the head of my penis is a little bit on the tender. It was very tender yesterday. Today it's only a slightly bit tender, but it's still tender. And as I said, I just stand up and I can feel the stream come out. It's not a few drops, it's a stream, like, and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that will get better. They tell me it'll get better. I get to see my physio next week, next Friday. Today's Wednesday, so that's about another 10 days. So be interesting to see what happens there. How did I go last night in bed? That was really quite a surprise. Apart from I had to get up about every hour or every hour and a half or so to have a piss, I didn't actually seem to leak an awful lot, which really, really surprised me. It was just to sort of wake up, go to the loo, come back, go back to bed and sort of stuff like this. It was really nice being in bed and not being hooked up to a monstrous catheter bag and everything like that. So, yeah. So anybody that's about to have it, I hope anything I've said is helpful to you. If you want to say anything in the comments, by all means, please do it. I'm happy to talk about my experience. I'm very open about it. I have talked to two other guys, slightly older than me, that have both had it. And I've got to admit that was a real eye opener to me. Hopefully, I'm going to catch up with another one, catch up with one of them tomorrow, and I can discuss what happened when he got his catheter out. But he never had a TERP, so he had his catheter in for about 6 days or 7 days or whatever it is. So yeah, they tell me that when you have the catheter in longer, it actually makes it more difficult because your muscles atrophy and sort of stuff like this. So that's it for 2 weeks exactly. And for those, another bit of background, I'm in Adelaide, Australia. So basically, everything I'm talking about is an Australian experience. Hence, we measure everything in metric and stuff like that. So, if you're from another part of the world, it might be measured a little bit different, but that's how it goes. Look, if I get a good response for this video, great. If I don't get much of a response to this video, great. I don't really mind. I'm putting it up because I just found other guys' videos really helpful. I only could find about 4 or 5 guys talking about their experience, and that was so sort of reassuring for me to hear a guy actually talk about the experience and stuff like this, because we're really bad at not doing that. So I might put a couple others. Hopefully, I might be able to put one up in 2 or 3 weeks and say the waterworks are a bit more under control. I don't know if that's going to happen. They tell me it might. I think I'm going to be a while. My surgeon seemed to think it might take me a while to get my continence control back. My physio said he didn't think it'd take me long at all. So my guess is he's got a lot of experience in that side of things, and he sort of said, "No, you seem to be know what you do on the pelvic floor, okay." But I I think from what I've read, but I might, I'm not a medical person, so don't take this as medical gospel or anything like that. I think there's a lot of damage down there that still needs to sort of repair itself, and it's a bit like trying to get erections and everything like that. A lot of that, there's nerve damage and all sorts of things like that. So part of this control might be about that. So anyhow, as I said before, any comments, glad to hear it. If you like the video, give it a like. It'd be a bit of a change for me. Normally I put up train videos, so that's my big hobby. Hope I've been of use to someone. Catch you later. Bye.